On the last video, I ended talking about how me being against fractional reserve banking led Jews to accuse me of being anti Semitic and to quit being my friends on Facebook and to block me and report me and all kind of things when I wasn't. And that's what got me going down the rabbit hole. And continuing on from there, I began to I began to hear about what was in the Talmud. And that began to get me thinking. And I had also begun to identify who were those running this Federal Reserve Bank. And I just started when I said that it was the Jews running the media and running the bank. I had a Jewish friend tell me that's what Hitler said. Hitler said the Jews were controlling the media and the banks. And I had never been taught that Hitler said that. I had only been taught that Germany, due to their own incompetence, had a lot of economic problems, and they needed someone to blame, and they falsely blamed the Jews. And so he just, as a way of being a dictator and taking a power, he just persecuted the Jews. That somehow. And so I started looking into, well, that's interesting that he said that. I didn't know he said that. And then another thing that I found interesting is I found out that he had outlawed the Masons and the Illuminati. And then I found out that he had banned transgender books. And so, had they just not have falsely accused me, I would probably still be a Zionist today. If they would have only said, yes, fractional reserve banking is wrong, you're right, or anything else. But the fact that, and there's another YouTuber that got canceled recently, and I'm not going to say his name because I don't know, it might help me get canceled faster. I don't know what AI bots are searching for words or whatever. But he come to the realization the same type of way. He was anti-communist, but he was a Zionist, but he was falsely accused of being anti-Semitic. Those are the lies, the false accusations, and the slanders against us starts to actually tell on them. I'm probably going to just talk about something completely different, but I wanted to go back over what I left on the last live. I mean, it's going to eventually be processed and posted, and then this picks up from that. And I'm finishing the audio of that in the other video. I had to use my phone to send money and cut the lights back on, and I just ate with Brittany and everything. And I'm reconnecting. Okay, reconnected. I'm not going to be on live for very much longer, but a little bit more longer. And I was going to talk about the Native Americans, and I was going to talk about India. I was going to talk about what the British people with their British culture, how that kind of changed India and America. And I'm not going to go very deep into this, but if you're in Europe and you come to visit America, you can actually go from Georgia all the way to California or New York all the way to Oregon and not get scalped. You can do that now. You can go from one end of the coast to the other, and no one's going to snatch up your wife and carry her off so they can steal 5 wives to become a chief. No one's going to do that. No one's going to, if you're old, you're not going to be, tortured to death by a whole tribe. Your brain's not going to be boiled into an adrenochrome soup and drunk, unless you're probably in LA or something. But you see what I'm saying? And then in India, women are not going to be burnt on the graves of their dead husbands when they die. And in China, little girls aren't going to have their feet broken up into pieces and tightly bound into shoes. And so back in the day, when people, when the Seminoles would cross the border into Georgia and rape women and bash the baby's brains out on rocks, we had a word for that. Savages. You can't say that now because it's racist or bad or whatever, but I can say it because I got a First Amendment and I'm not a coward. And even if they took the First Amendment away and they'd kill me or hurt me for saying what I would say, I would still say it. So if no one else can say it, I can say it. So, um, there are savages. There are barbarians. There is such a thing. There is such a type of culture. There is a certain type of people that live a certain type of lifestyle that's what they are. Godless savages, barbarians, And a lot of these people who've come to London are savages. And you couldn't even say that in London. If you got on Facebook and you said, I see these four men that gang raped this little child, they're savages. They say, well, you're racist. You're being racist. You can't call them what they are. You can't say these Muslims are acting like savages because then you're being Islamophobic. You're being racist. You're being bad. It's insane. And this all happened because people just were scared to tell the truth. The British people started letting them restrict. Like, it's illegal to pray to Jesus in public in Britain, and they have a Church of England at the same time and say, God save the King. Make it make sense. Now, if you look at history, when you have people that are genetically similar, culturally similar, one group can defeat the other group and they can live side by side. They can become one people. But when you have people of completely different bloods and completely different cultures, one group replaces the other. There is no multicultural, homogeneous society future for England where it can be British and Muslim, where it can be Anglican and Muslim side by side, Britain and Turk, Britain and Arab, Britain and Indian side by side. It will not work. One population will replace the other. And as it is going, I think we are watching the absolute replacement of the British people. I think that we're watching a frontier of civilization be erased. And I don't think that they're going to fight back and save their country. I think they're going to flee to America and give it up. And then I think it will fall into looking like a third world hellhole because there won't be a people that are civilized enough that are, a bunch of rape gangs are not going to make British society. They're not going to do it. They're not. It will look something like India, something like Bangladesh, something like Pakistan, but it will not look like England. There won't be the free thought. There won't be, which there's not much free thought there now, but there won't be any kind of progress. Because there will be people that are ready to hit you with a sandal for stating facts. There are people that want you to go to jail for saying you like bacon. There are people that want to rape little Scottish girls, and then if one of them defends themselves, put the Scottish girl in jail. Think of how vile and disgusting these people are. That not only do they form gangs to rape children, but they also quickly tell the police and say, I'm being persecuted. Can you believe how vile that is? How vile that is that these people go and rape these Scottish children and then call the police when a Scottish child gets a weapon to protect other Scottish children. They call the police on them and have them locked up. How vile and wicked a people do you have to be? So I'm just saying, I'm not apologizing for it. I'm standing by it. Those people will never be able to build a civilization like British civilization. And it is worth fighting for, England. It's worth it. It is worth it to overthrow the British government to throw those people out. It is worth it. Your daughter's safety is worth it. Your future bloodline is worth it. But you've been attacked since you were an infant in your mind. You've been told that your culture isn't worth anything, that your ancestors, you being related to your ancestors, isn't worth anything, that it's just as good as the next guy, that it's just the same. But I'm going to tell you, a quarter horse is a quarter horse, a thoroughbred is a thoroughbred, a lab is a lab, a Jack Russell is a Jack Russell, the breed is the breed. There are consequences to who you breed with, who you have children with. There's thousands of years it took to make that phenotype of human that is the British. And do you really want to just throw it away for the ones you see that would replace it? Do you really think that? Is it worth it to play this game and everybody tell this lie and pretend this egalitarian nonsense to shore up everyone's insecurities? Is it worth it to pretend the lie? It was never true. People just out of insecurity that wanted to believe it. So many of the masses wanted to believe it because they were not a king and there was a king. They all wanted to believe everyone's just as good as everyone. Everyone that played it safe, that's father played it safe, that his father played it safe, and their father played it safe and submitted to servitude and slavery and just paid the tax and just was the peasant for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Do you think that they're really equal to the people that went to the battle to fight to have the state, to protect the state, that risked their life, that charged the battle line, that their father was a governor, that their father was a soldier, that their father. Do you really think that thousands of years of that breed made no difference? So it was a mistake to overthrow the kings and replace them with Jewish banks and popular sovereignty. But it made people feel good. People are insecure. It made people feel good to say, I'm just as good as this person. This race is just as good as this race. This animal is just as good as this animal. This man can understand politics just as much as this woman. And it was all nonsense. Nothing ever was like fair. There was nothing ever where we were born into the natural world and every mouse gets just equal stats with every lion. It just is what it is. And you have to just make the best of what's given to you. But DNA matters. It's nature and nurture, but nurture can never erase or overcome the nature. The nature's always there. It takes a lot of work and effort to work against the nature. It takes a lot of nurturing to try to tame or try to change the behavior that just comes naturally. And even if you do manage to change the behavior with the nurturing, the being is not happy because it's not living true to its nature. The DNA, that type of crystal, that type of expression, that type of individual, that type of who you really are as a person, you have a true nature that's tied up in your genetic signature, and that is who you are. Now, sure, people can teach you a certain way or train you to be a certain way or get you to act contrary to your nature, but only if you're acting in according to your nature will you really be at peace. So people play this game. They play this game that the British is the Turk, that a Turk can be an Irishman, that an Arab can be British, that everybody can kumbaya, but it's bullshit. And people are happier around people that they have more in common with, that they can understand more, that they can just relax more because they can anticipate things, You can't, any city that has a whole bunch of different races in it has gangs and gang violence and territory disputes and misunderstandings that could have all been avoided just because they didn't speak the same language or they didn't have the same manners. Something that's polite in one culture is rude in another culture. You can't just throw all these different cultures together and want peace or unity or anything like that. But you can really see what's going on if you look at every single country in the world. Every single country seems to have the same type of bank. Every single country has the same type of media. Every single country in the whole world, every single white country, it seems, is being replaced, indebted. Every country indebted to the Rothschilds. It's time to, if you know how it works, how the Federal Reserve works, it's time to stop taking loans for one. That's going to cause inflation. That just furthers the problem. And if you're trying to drain the swamp or secure the border or do anything without taking care of the Federal Reserve, it's pointless. They can print up as much money as they want to do whatever. There's no sense in trying to think, like, you could deport as many Mexicans as you want to, but Jewish judges are still going to work around it. Jewish interests are still going to push for open borders. They're still going to pay for a lot of them to come. They're still going to make welfare programs to incentivize them to come. the planet is still going to keep on going. The Democrats, the Republicans are both AIPAC. They're both the Israeli lobby is who gives them the money to get elected. And it's also the Jews who control who gets media time, who gets media attention, who gets on whether the censorship of social media. That's also controlled by the Jews. What's taught in the colleges? It's like, I don't know if we can vote our way out of this. But, with 320 million Americans, it shouldn't be that hard to arrest 100 senators. Even I know there's not 1,000 congressmen. What is it, like 600 and something like that? There's 320 million of us. We don't really have to listen to anything that they tell us to do if we don't want to. Now, one, because of this constant inflation, anytime the people start to resist, they're normally met with a depression or a world war. And when people were really protesting against Social Security and having Social Security numbers and protesting against the League of Nations and everything, protesting against the bank, they've got world wars for that. I don't like either political party. I don't either. I don't like either political party either. Neither political party is going to do anything about the debt. Neither political party is going to do anything about the Federal Reserve. And neither political party is going to keep us out of any of the wars the Jews want us to be involved in. None of these political parties are really going to do anything for us. They're going to give us this illusion that maybe we can change something if we pick the other side. It like relieves a pressure valve. Because the one side sighs in relief when a Democrat gets elected, but the other side's frustrated. Then they switch it. And then this side's relieved and this side's frustrated, and they keep fighting for left, right. Meanwhile, do you want a skull and bones George Bush, or do you want skull and bones John Kerry? Do you want AIPAC John Kerry, AIPAC George Bush? Do you want a general that's not been to a Jesuit college? Oh, well. Do you want a Supreme Court justice that's not a Jew or a Jesuit? Oh, well.
Are you live?
I am live.
I was going to tell you something.
Okay. Do I need to...
No, I got yelled at today by Kyle's mama.
Well, fuck Kyle's mama. Sorry, bitch.
She yelled at me today.
Kyle who?
Your friend.
Oh, my friend Kyle?
Yeah.
Fuck my friend Kyle's mama for yelling at you. What's she yelling at you about?
Because she wanted some barbecue-loaded tots.
Okay.
I thought she said barbecue-loaded fries.
Okay.
And I got I told them no ranch, the ranch on the side, they done everything right. But she's like, what do y'all do? Y'all, because they do miss her order every single time. I don't know if it's coincidence or what. And she called them and was like, y'all must hate me or something, or must do. Don't laugh. And I got yelled at and I cried.
Well, did she get her fries? Okay. I'm sorry. She don't want them tater tots. Please say fuck you. I mean, but she wasn't just yelling at you for this. It's for all the times together of all the other people and everything. That's what it was. It's not personal. It's business.
But
it's
this
like, dang it, I need my
fault.
fries.
Wasn't nobody else.
Yeah.
Because I thought she was in during the rush, and I thought she wanted tots. Fries, not tots.
I love it.
Mm-hmm. They're both fries. The roast potatoes.
Now, I don't know why you'd pick a tater tot over a French fry.
Oh, God, yes.
But.
Good.
But I was saying, the Supreme Court, that's one thing. You change the justices are for life. They're appointed by the presidents. But we're a majority Protestant country, or non-religious is next to that. But every Supreme Court justice is always a Catholic or a Jew. And the Catholics have already been infiltrated by the crypto Jews. They took over the Jesuits. And so it's really like, it's the same thing. They're working for the same goal. I heard the most. One time somebody, or it was, I think it was Ravenheart. He was talking. He made a video about different like scary stuff and
God.
cartoons and something like that. And he was asking me something about had I had a bad dream or a ghost story or something like that. And I said some scary stuff, but there's something way more scarier than any of that I said that I did not think of at that time. It's like really the most craziest shit. I don't even know if I need to say it on live because, for one, it's so bad. I don't want people to really even have this in their imagination or their consciousness or their thought. And then on the other side of it, I wonder if it's true. I wonder if this is really happening the way that it was told to me. And I would wonder if it would be like, one, it does sound kind of bizarre, but if it was true, hey Ravenheart, I was about to talk about something that's like really scary, but I don't even know if I want to. So, but if it was true, it kind of explains some things. But I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about this. One, I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna write it down, and then I'm gonna put it in a different video that's not a live video, and then I'm probably gonna share it not to public but unlisted and like pick who can see it or something. Because I don't know if I just want to put it out there to where everybody can have it in their imagination and I don't know. It's like, but it really is scary. It's like scary on a really scary level because you think about if this is true, it's like you would just need God's help. Like, what else could you do? What else could humanity do? Was it in one of my videos? Well, you have scary stuff in your videos, but no, this is like a really I had I had a friend, he's dead now. He killed himself maybe because I don't know. He had a plan to try to rescue these people. He was a combat veteran. He served with them broken TVs over there in Iraq. He it's weird, like he was hung and the rope was tied around his feet too. But he didn't commit suicide right after coming back from combat. Nobody thought he was going to kill himself. I still wonder if he really killed himself or if it was made to look like he killed himself. But he had also, like, part of it. If I was to tell all of this story, someone might kill me. But I think he found out something, and see, it's like this is like already hearsay because see, the thing is, he told me, and he was told by two different other women, and so it's like I'm saying what he said that they said. And I also, at the time that he told me, I got on the GPS and I looked at the area he was talking about, and there's like a strip cut in the pine trees with like green tarps all in that area, and it's really big. Like you could drive down in there, and the area that it was in, the sheriff of the area had worked in the United Nations peacekeeping forces, and he was also friends with like the bondsmen. And they have this. They extended the airport because normally it only takes like crop dusters and things like that, but they made it so they could land bigger planes that are normally landed like on cloudy days when it's like really rainy, or not necessarily rainy, but like when it's dark, when it's cloudy, and there's trucks there where no papers exchanged, nobody normally anytime a truck goes to a place and anything is delivered, there's going to be a bill of landing and paperwork and stuff, but there's no paperwork because it doesn't have to be paperwork because they can kind of drive off that back way on that dirt road and go really up under the ground somewhere. But they had so they started having like there's like all them big dog tracks around the area because when that happens, when that plane comes in at night and trucks are there, there'll be the cops there'll be a cop over there at this end of that road that goes back to the airport and at the other, and there'll be drones and they have them bigger dogs lit out around that area. So if you could not walk to that area without getting spotted or getting checked or something like that to that area, well, there's like people that like if you're born you can be born under the earth. You can be born under the earth with no birth certificate. These people can be put in jail, and then the sheriff at the time, the bondsman at the time, everybody being in with it at the time, could really just take them. Like a lot of people, like some crackhead woman or whatever, gets locked up, but then doesn't really get locked up, gets put under the ground. You know what I'm saying? They get there's really like nowhere to because let's say you're gonna try to rescue them, you got to trespass on property owned by the sheriff or something like who you gonna go to court with, who's there at the court, and who goes under there, and the girls, they say preachers, politicians, sheriffs, everybody, like all them numbers to call like about that whole stuff. You can't call them. That's they. What do sheriffs do? The scary thing is about it's about it's not just about sex trafficking. It's also about having people that have no birth certificates and about breeding a certain type, like breeding a different breed of human. They're trying to breed. What's scary though is central to all this is the Shining One. It's just said to just give the order to consume, to be this being that just looks like light, just looks like a man made out of light, and then doing like really these bad rituals and stuff, and so you've got all these women that they're pregnant. They give birth to these babies that don't have no birth certificates, but they eat some of them. It's they're talking about that the men they have like these orgies. They get these women pregnant, but some of these men random, and they never know which one. It might be when they'll be pointed to one and it's like consume. They just eat this guy, and make these women eat their own babies. But they're waiting for a baby to be born in this environment that takes pleasure in it, that likes it. And that it's an environment full of fear, an environment full of degeneracy, of perversion. It's this horrible thing, this horrible perversion and degeneracy, where this being that they call the Shining One that gives the order to consume is trying to breed basically almost like a demon type of human in this program. And these things, they have these things that bore. You hear a vibration, it'll just be for a short time, like 2 or 3 seconds, just like, and it's under the ground, and they're boring, and it would just be like, maybe 3 a.m., 1 a.m., like really late, and you hear it, and you don't hear it. You're just about to fall asleep. You hear it just a little bit at a time, for years and years. And it's just got to where I don't hear it no more. I guess they've gotten further away or whatever. But like I've had people with me, and both sober, not on anything, and they hear it like, and but they have there is a prophecy about a beast that comes from the sea and a beast that comes from the earth. And these beasts, it represents nations. In Daniel, a beast is a nation. So in Revelation, the beast is a nation. And the beast in Revelation, it looks like the three beasts of Daniel. We go to Daniel, the fourth beast. He takes over all the land of the original beast. That's why he has the characteristics of all of them. So anyway, there is a God. There is like a government under the earth in the United States. It's like some like majestic stuff, Like there's almost like a breakaway civilization, like a breakaway government. They got a lot of money. They got to do a lot of stuff in secrets. They stay. Presidents come and go. Congressmen come and go. Some things are just secret, and they just stay secret. There's a scene in the Bible where the devil comes to Jesus, and he tells him he'll give him all the kingdoms of the world. If he'll worship him, he'll give him all the nations. What was he offering all the nations? He was claiming that he could do that the nations followed him. Sometimes I wonder if maybe it really is that way. If like really at the top or at the bottom of the swamp is just Satan himself. So it said what they say, they escape. Now it would be probably a whole hell of a lot harder for it to escape. Now you've got the drones. Now they're gonna make that a private road and cut it off completely. Bill Gates bought part of that land around there. But what's up, Mud Daddy 420? They eat. They're cannibalistic. They yeah. Like I feel you on that. There's all kind of different worldviews that we can pick. We never really have time to examine them all. You've got to make a decision. We don't live forever. And almost any way that you try to explain or understand the universe and yourself, there's like things that just don't exist. That's why we can't get past barriers in space. They're testing to see if humans are good enough to live. That would be responsible if they are. Let's put a barrier and see what these humans do before we turn them loose on the whole universe. I could see that. Or you have your first life before that you even decide whether or not they even want to give you an afterlife, Like, it's a simulation. Let's see what he would do before we really create him. I like that idea. I think it's kind of unfair that we don't get to know. Maybe life's better that you can be searching things out and not knowing. Solomon said that it was the glory of God to conceal a matter and the glory of man to reveal it. So basically, like the secrets and mysteries of the universe are meant to be found, almost like unwrapping a present. I always hated when I was a child and I would ask some kind of question, and instead of getting an answer, I would be told something like, well, God doesn't mean for us to know everything, and it just is because it is. No, I never was satisfied with any of that. And I never thought that God wanted us to just be ignorant or to not know. And I always thought that if a child was ready to ask a question, they were ready to be given an answer. Maybe not necessarily the most detailed and graphic answer possible, but just a basic answer and if it satisfied their curiosity, okay. But if they kept asking questions, they're ready to know. They're ready. When you're ready to ask the question, that's when you're ready for the answer. Unless you're not really asking a question and seeking confirmation bias, but yeah, that's why. I think a lot of it, the test, a lot of it is learning to love, like really love. I think it's very beautiful that we're mortal and we have to pick how we spend our life, and we have to spend our life up. I think it's very beautiful though that we, like if gold was everywhere, it wouldn't be worth anything. And because our lives are so short, it adds more meaning and beauty to it because we can sacrifice our life for another person. That's like this amazing act of love that if we were eternal and immortal, we couldn't do. Yes, to be able to be mortal. Even God himself, to be able to do the ultimate act of love, had to become mortal. Flesh, die, reborn, regen. Now, I do know I'm kind of pushing the time limit here. I can't really be on here too much longer. Brittany already walked away. Probably she's like, man, you're giving time to that nameless audience or the audience or whatever and stuff to her. She really deserves my time too. There's only so much time in the day. But I want to close with saying this because I said a lot of stuff all today, is that you do have to focus on building the good, not just destroying what's bad. And you can stand against things, but there's got to be some things you stand for. And there's things that I stand for. I believe in truth, and I believe in what that Greek term eudaimonia, human flourishing. I'm not anti-human. I don't think humans are a cancer on the earth. I'm not anti-natalist. I'm not one of those people that think, well, because there's pain in the world, it's so bad and we shouldn't even exist and we shouldn't even bring children into the world. I don't believe that cowardice. That there is pain and there's pleasure in life. There is consuming and being consumed. There's life and death, and it all together is beautiful. You've got to be able to just get to the point to where you accept that. It's okay that there's pain because there's pleasure. There's a nervous system. There's going to be a spectrum. There's got to be hot and cold for there to be what's in the middle. There's got to be pain and pleasure for there to be what's in the middle. There's got to be recklessness and cowardness to have courage in the middle. There's got to be all these extremes for there to even be anything. There's got to be a spectrum. There's got to be an amount of solid and not solid. All these different opposites, all these different polar opposites. And there's no other way to create life. There's no other way to have a universe. So some people, they get mad at God and they say, oh, the earth is so bad because there's pain in it. Our life is so bad because there's pain in it. You couldn't even have pleasure if there wasn't pain. And life can't everything just live forever and keep multiplying and there be enough resources for everything. There's got to be this balance of life and death, of things being ate and eating. And then life goes on. The life is not defeated by the death. There's all these living things that live for a while and die, but they reproduce and life keeps on going. And all these different consciousnesses get to experience life and see the art and see the beauty of everything, of all the different animals and all the different plants, all the different sciences, all the different languages, all the different poems, all the different people, all the different individual people, all the conversations, all the dramas, all the stories. Think of how many stories there are in each of our lives. Not just the humans, but the fish, the birds, the insects. How many conscious stories there are. How many different stories there are of so many different living things able to experience the universe. It's a very beautiful thing. It's something to be appreciated and loved. But if you just only get focused on the negative, you can choose to only see every single thing that's bad and painful and unfortunate, and then get to feeling really down and everything. But you just got to kind of accept that they go together. You have to have them both. There's got to be the life and death. There's got to be it both. And it's beautiful. And you choose a lot about how you experience this universe. A lot of it has to do with your attitude and your perception, your choices. Thought it was a meteor. I know what you're talking about. That Atlas something. Some people think it's a meteor. Some people think it's a mothership. Aliens coming. Some people think it's a government psyop where they're going to tell us it's aliens to build some kind of one world government. I don't know what it is. I have no clue what that something Atlas. I don't know if it's a government psyop, an asteroid, or a alien. I don't trust aliens. Galactic trade might be a good thing, but I don't know.